Hey guys, so today's tutorial we're going to be looking at how to take our Minecraft world and actually import it into something like Cinema 4D. Now we're going to run into two problems, and they're quite time consuming problems, but there is a way around them. There's a hard way and there's a somewhat easy way. So I'm going to discuss both of them. One of them obviously will require you to purchase something in order to do it. The other one is manually, but it does take a bit of time. So let's get cracking and we'll talk through it as we go. So the first thing you want to do is pause this tutorial and go to this web address. It is JMC2OBJ.net. Now the site is actually in progress, which means they're actually updating the website. The newest version is 277M, so download that and it will give you a jar file. Now it's important to put this somewhere where you're not going to delete anything, because it does create this folder here, which is the conf folder, which is the configuration folder. So I'm just going to delete this and I'll show you as this actually happens. So this is what the file you will get. As you can see, it's 277M, which is the latest version. Double click this. You don't need to right click and open with, because it's a jar file. It will run the Java application and it will load it up. So this is what we get here. And if you want to update it, we do have the updated version, but you can also update here, which is cool. It does have a few settings here. So you've got settings, export, go to, and load. Now we're going to be using a few of these, but the first thing you want to do is find your save folder. Now the easiest way to do this is drop down here to the start menu, type in %APP data, so app data, and then close it with a %. Once you've done that, you can go to your roaming folder. You will click on your Minecraft folder, and then you go into saves. Once you're in here, this is the folders with your saved worlds. Mine aren't particularly named well, but hey. So you want to click on this bar here, which will give you the highlighted path. Right click copy, you can close that. Go in here, highlight this, right click and paste. Well, you can't right click and paste, so you'll have to Control and V, and it'll put this in here. Then hit the drop down menu and it will find your worlds for you. So I'm going to use the new world dash. Use that and I'm going to click load. So I'm just going to maximize this, and you don't have to maximize it of course, but this is the world. So you want to use your left click to highlight the selection. Right click will actually allow you to move around. Now it is slightly laggy. So I wouldn't move around really fast. You only need to use short movements and it'll move around just fine. So I know this is part of my machinima, and this is the section that I want to use. So I'm just going to make a big selection just around here, something like that. Then what I want to do is I want to export this. So how would we do that? It's very simple. You just click export. So I'm going to hit export. It's going to give me this dialog box. Now the first thing you want to do is define where this folder will be. Now just to illustrate on something we said before, it will create this conf folder on the desktop. So you can delete it. So wherever you have this, it will create this folder as well. So what we have here is where we want to actually add this data, these files that we're going to export out. For me, the desktop is absolutely fine. So I'm going to do is hit export. It's going to quickly go through and it's going to render out this section here. Now you can go into the settings and adjust the settings if you want. The export options here are probably the main ones you want to mess around with, especially if you want individual blocks or have it all one block, which I leave default. Now it will create two objects here, which is the OBJ and the MTL, which is the material. So this is the actual geometry, this is the material information applied to this geometry. So if you want to have textures on this, which I would assume you would, you've got two options here. So show the texture options, and you want to leave the pre-scale texture to 1x. That's perfectly fine. You want to say where you want this. It's going to put it in a default folder as TEX for textures. Now, one of the reasons, I probably should have illustrated this before, the reason why we're using JMC2OBJ is because Minecraft, Mojang, have actually changed how they actually apply textures to the Minecraft world now. Before, it used to be one texture. It used to be the terrain.png, and it used to have the alpha, and it used to have every single block in there. Now the game is getting a lot bigger, there's a lot more textures. They want to have more detail in these textures, and it's just a lot easier to focus on one texture than an entire terrain. So they've actually made it so every block has its own terrain, effectively terrain.png, but they will be called whatever block they are, so chest, wood, gravel, etc. Now I'll demonstrate this once we actually render this out, because it's very important to understand this, especially when editing the textures now. So first things first is, if you want the default Minecraft textures, just hit Minecraft. If you want a custom texture pack, which I do, I'm going to use custom texture pack. I'm going to go to my desktop, and we've got one here, John Smith Legacy. Love this texture pack. I'm going to click select texture pack, and it's actually going to render these out for us. So it's putting them in the TEX folder, excuse me, and it's going to take a while depending on a few factors. How big the texture pack is in terms of scale. Is it 16 by 16 or is it 512? Really depends. Again, if you don't want to use a custom texture pack, you just hit the Minecraft and it will render out all the Minecraft files for you, which is really, really cool. And this does support all the latest blocks as well. Mineways, which is another program you can use to do the exact same thing, however, it doesn't give you the latest blocks. It actually gives you a lot of errors because of the Minecraft change. So once it sits on 100%, it's done. So you can close these down now. So what we have is we have geometry, we have the material, and we have the textures. So just to illustrate something, as you can see, bricks have their own textures. So there's a brick, okay? The chest trapped, I don't know which one this is, but this has its own texture. Now you can see before, I'll give you an example of the chest actually, because the chests are, ender chest for example. The chests used to have all this laid out in the terrain PNG. It used to be kind of different sections. Now it's its own texture. So you've got the top, you've got the bottom, you've got the sides, you've got the corners of the lid and stuff like that. So everything is in that one texture, which is honestly is a lot better. One thing that is weird to me, I don't know why they didn't do it with a bed. So the bed still is in separate pieces. Perhaps they're still updating that type of thing. Who knows? But yeah, that's done and that is fantastic. So what we need to do now is we need to open up Cinema 4D. So let's open up Cinema 4D, and there's a few important things you have to do, which of course I'm going to tell you now. So let's just let this load up. Oh, Cinema 4D, I love you. I probably should have opened this before I started the tutorial, but I'm sure you guys won't mind waiting a few seconds for it to initialize my awesome layout. There we go. So first thing you want to do is, this is the method that is a little time consuming. I'm going to show you why. So first things first, go to File, Merge Objects, and find your Minecraft.obj, which is this file. Hit open, and you want the scale to be 100 centimeters. This is going to be the equal to one Minecraft block, which is 100 centimeters. Hit OK. It's going to load it all up, and there's two things you will notice. One, we have no textures. Two, we have no geometry. Well, the geometry is actually simple. Hit H on your keyboard, that's H for Harry, and it will basically scale everything in your scene so it fits in the camera view. And as you can see, the axis is, well, it's not even in the right location. So this is what I suggest you do when you're doing this method. If you're not going to use caves in your world, you want to go into any of the side views. I'm going to use the front view. I'm going to hit H again, And what I want to do is I want to go into the point mode. In fact, let's do into the polygons mode. It might be a little easier to see. I'm going to click and hold on the live selection, go to the rectangle selection, turn off only select visible elements, and I'm going to grab all of these dungeons and stuff, and I'm going to delete them. Now, one thing to note is be very careful, because if we go too high, we actually have water on this. So if you're looking from the top, it's actually going to get rid of all this underneath, which is perhaps we want to see that because it is actually water. So we do need to be careful around these areas. So the best thing to do is grab all these that are quite low, like so, and just check from here. Now, as you can see, we actually need some of these here. So I'm going to go into a different view and try find where it is. I believe it's just here. So I'm going to hold control and just deselect a few of these, and it's going to get rid of them, and then I can have a look, and yeah, that looks better. So what I want to do now is hit the delete key, not the backspace, the delete key, and that's going to delete them for me. Now this of course needs a little fine tuning, so you can just go in here and pretty much just fine tune it. Get rid of all the unnecessary things that you don't particularly need. It will save a lot of memory and a lot of space if you just take the time to go through this. Honestly, it will save you a ton of time. But I'm going to leave it like that for now, just because I don't want this tutorial to be any longer than it should be. Okay, you're going because you're going to annoy me. There we go. So what you want to do now is one very important thing is go to the points. Now, as you can see, all the points are still there. So what we need to do is right click and go to optimize. That will get rid of all them points. Perfect. So what we want to do now is we want to center this up into our world. So first things first, select our object, go over to mesh, axis center, and then center to, and it's going to put the axis to the center of this object. Now we want to zero this out, so 0, 0, 0, and hit apply, and then press H again, and it's going to be in the center of our world, which is pretty damn nice. So we fixed that issue, right? So what about the textures? Well, for some reason, the JMC2OBJ doesn't give us the textures for Cinema 4D. However, if you imported this into 3ds Max, it would actually give you the textures. Now, it is very easy to overcome, but again, it is very time consuming. The way you would do it is this. You would find one, let's say, one that you could actually see. Now this is where it becomes a little bit annoying. There we go, dirt. So I'm going to click on dirt, I'm going to turn off specular. I'm going to go to colour, and I'm going to go to the search path, and I'm going to find my TEX folder, and then I'm going to select one and press D. It's going to bring me to the beginning of the D's. I'm going to find dirt. I'm going to open that, hit no, and change the sampling to none. Now, as you can see, all the textures that have dirt on them have now been applied with dirt. Now, one thing you would want to do also is for the glass, let's say, I know we have glass here somewhere. There we go. So double click on glass, turn off specular, go to colour, and then we want to press for glass and find glass. So there we go, we've got glass. I'm going to hit open, hit no, change the sampling to none, and there we go, we have our glass. Now we also need to do the same for the alpha channel. So turn on alpha, go to colour channel, click on the actual texture, drag and put it over to the alpha will change, and then just place it in here, and it will give you the alpha. Because it's a PNG store the actual data plus the alpha in one file, so it just saves on having a colour texture and an alpha texture. It's all in one. So that's pretty much how you would do it. You would have to go through each and every single one and just find the textures and just basically load them in. Now again, that can take quite a while, so there's an easier way. It's a plugin called Riptide Pro. If If you type it into Google, you will find it. If we just type here, Riptide Pro, and it's this one here from Skin Props, and this is the one we want once it loads. Some websites are a little bit slow. Now again, this is just gonna load, so I might just, yeah, it's actually not gonna load this time. But let's just try one more time. Okay, so perhaps his website is actually down right now, but again, it is up because I've been to the website. It's called skinprops.com, and you're searching for Riptide Pro. So you will have to buy Riptide Pro. There is a Riptide, but it doesn't work with Cinema 4D R14. You can get the Riptide Pro from many sources. I'll let you figure that out. So all you would do is you would go to plugins. Once you've installed the plugin, of course, go to Riptide Pro and go to the .obj importer, and it's going to give you all the settings. Leave them as default and then hit OK. It's going to ask you for the OBJ file, so you click the Minecraft, hit OK, and it's going to give you all of the textures. Again though, you will have to hit H and do what we did before. But for demonstrations, I'm just going to go to Mesh, and I'm going to Axis Center and center this too, and I'm actually just going to zero this out. But of course, you would get rid of all of the underground caves and stuff because you don't particularly need that. Now, one thing you will know, this is, again, it's a good method, but still it's time consuming. And why is that? The reason it's time consuming is because the alpha channels are not actually implemented when they're imported. I'll give you an example. If I render this out now, you won't see the majority of the stuff on the surface, and it gives you error here, the texture error. Hit OK and you'll see all the plants, the water, the windows, the trees, everything with transparency has actually gone. So how do you fix this? It's very simple. You just double click on the one on any texture that doesn't have the texture on it and you would go to the color and you would just drag and drop it into the alpha, and that's exactly what you do for all of these. So you just drag and drop, drag and drop, drag from the color, drop in the alpha, go to color, drag from the color into the alpha and drop. And you would go through and do this for all of the ones that have alpha channels, like for the torches and for the doors and for the bottom of the door, and of course for plants, I think the plants, weeds, we've got more bushes and stuff here, trapdoors. Now you see this doesn't actually have a texture on it, and that's because in the default Minecraft texture pack it does actually have transparency on it, but because this is a custom texture pack, it doesn't have the alpha on it, but still it does have it, and that's why it's asking you to supply it. So again, go through all these, and there's another important step which I'm going to go through. Now the reason I'm not pausing this and going through it is because I just want you to see how quick it actually is. It's a lot faster method than the one we used before. As you can see, the background is updating with everything we do, which is really, really nice, of course. And we've got two more. And last one. There we go. Now, one thing that you need to do is double click on one of your textures. You want to click on the last one, hold shift and click on the first one. That's going to highlight them all. This is what you need to do. Go to the color channel, make sure sampling is set to none for all of them. It's going to go through, it's going to change them all. Go to the alpha and make sure the alpha is changed for all of them as well. Now the alpha is not loading simply because it's actually going through all these. As soon as this is finished, it will load the alpha. And load. Please load the alpha. Okay, so for some reason it's not loading the alpha. You want to go on the specular, take all the specular off, and let's just hit off the alpha and put it back on. And that might have been a bug, but again, we just want to go to the sampling and change all the sampling to none. Now it might go to multiple, even though we have actually done it, but again, if you go through and check them all, you can see that all of them are actually set to none. And the reason it went to multiple is because some of them don't actually have alpha channels, and they don't have textures in the alpha channels, but then obviously some of them do. So the ones that do actually require alphas are all set to none. The ones that don't have any alphas, again, it doesn't really matter even if the alpha is on or off for it, because there's no actual texture here. It's not going to affect it in any way. It's just a lot faster to do that. So now when we actually render this out, you can see everything is actually here. So that is pretty much how you would do it, and that's pretty much stage 1 of getting it into Cinema 4D. Now what we're going to do in the next tutorial is we're actually going to light this and make it look presentable, because if you make something in Minecraft and it's something really, really cool, like a really big structure, and you've done it on a server with all your friends, and you want to, you know, render it out maybe as a picture, put it in a frame, and get it printed out professionally as a poster or something like that, then this is obviously something you would want to do. And just rendering out like this is very, very ugly. So you will want to make it look very nice in CG. And that's what we're going to do in the next episode. So guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you've got any questions, please leave it in the comment section below. And if you've got any suggestions on what tutorials to do, please also leave them in the comment section below. And if you would be so nice to hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you're interested in tutorials for Cinema 4D, and of course other applications such as Photoshop. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and have a good day. Peace.